Hello, in this video we're going to look at King Charles of the United Kingdom. We're going to look at his 9 vibration chart and his 17 vibration chart to find out what potential he has to be a king for the people, to connect with the people, to support the people, and to work with the people rather than being in this exclusive royal club with its 13 vibration and reserved and distant from everyone else because of the 7 vibration. So here is his 9 vibration chart. This is critically and vitally important. And what do we see? We see a mystic rectangle. A mystic rectangle is a trine, sextile, trine, sextile. That green rectangle we call a mystic rectangle. He has it. And in fact, two of the corners of this mystic rectangle have 2 planets involved. One of the corners is Moon and Jupiter, 5 degrees apart. Another one is Mercury and Pluto, 3 degrees apart, about 3.5 degrees. And the other corners are Uranus and Venus. We see the oppositions are within orb. Uranus opposition Moon and Jupiter. Venus opposition Mercury and Pluto. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets involved. And most of the aspects are in orb. The Moon sextile Venus is out of orb. It looks like the Uranus sextile Mercury is out of orb. 2 of the sextiles are out of orb. All the other aspects are within orb. So it's a pretty tight configuration of 6 planets. So his interest, I'm going to read here from the slide, his interest in sustainable living is here. This is his interest in sustainable living. 9 vibration, building community, building a place where people want to live together. And this will at least indirectly affect his role as king. Let's hope that he brings some of this to his work as king and he doesn't just drop it. We don't know, because people have the freedom to choose. If I was consulting Prince Charles, I would say, don't drop it. This is so beautiful. This is what the world needs, is sustainable living. You can incorporate that in an appropriate way. You know, as king, you don't want to be a political commentator. It's not your job. But in more subtle ways, he can support and strengthen this beautiful work that he's done in building community. And Mercury-Pluto means he has strong opinions. Mercury-Pluto always has strong opinions, doesn't voice it. He just works on it. The Moon-Jupiter in 9 vibration is just wonderful. So he will be a king for the community, for England and the surrounding countries and the countries that are closely connected to England and Scotland and so on. He is going to be a kind of family person, bringing the people together. This is very, very good. It puts a greater emphasis on community, family, and the United Kingdom as an extended community, more than you had with Elizabeth. Elizabeth had 17 vibrations, speaking languages, connecting different things like that. With Charles, we're going to see more of his background in developing community, in sustainable living, positive ways of farming, things like this. This is strong in his soul, and let's hope he doesn't turn it off. He can't turn it off completely. It's impossible. So even if we don't see it, he is an advisor to the Parliament. He will be advising in positive ways. This is a relief. This is wonderfully good news, and I think it's a step in the right direction because we don't have as much of this with Elizabeth. So I'm feeling very optimistic about King Charles because of this 9 vibration, sustainable living, and man, do we need it. We need this desperately. So the whole world needs it. So this is in the right direction and hopefully strong enough for the demands of the 21st century to break down regal entitlement. Still concerned about this regal entitlement, and hopefully he incorporates enough of this to move it forward relatively quickly. Bottom line is this, good news. He's going to be community-oriented. His interest in sustainable living cannot be stopped by any position, and it will influence things even if it's secretively and we don't see it. I think we'll get hints of it anyway. We'll see little bits of it. It's there. This is good news. And more of this in his chart than with Elizabeth, of this community orientation. Now, his 17 vibration, we see Jupiter opposition Mercury Uranus. Now, remember that if you watch the first video on Charles, the previous one, you don't need to, but I mentioned that he has in his birth chart a very, very strong Jupiter-Uranus opposition. That strong Jupiter-Uranus opposition in the birth chart, because it has only a 3-minute orb in the birth chart, the orb in the 17 vibration is 17 times bigger. 17 times 3 is still under 1 degree. So we see here that Jupiter is opposition Uranus with a 45-minute orb. That's still very, very tight. So what's happening is that Mercury joins his Jupiter-Uranus in 17. So this gives some enjoyment of different perspectives and cultures. And remember that Elizabeth has a very strong 17 vibration chart. The fact that Charles has a little bit of this with Mercury joining his Jupiter-Uranus, again, it eases the transition because he has probably learned some different languages, being brought up as a royalty and some facility. He also has some sense of humor. He seems maybe a little almost nerdy and removed, but he can be quite clever and enjoy. He can have a very nice, enjoyable conversation. He's and entertain different points of view. So he's definitely progressive. I think we're going to find a lightness of spirit with him. He still has enough reserve and dignity, as we saw in the previous video, as a 7 vibration. Now, to read from the slide here, Elizabeth's very strong 17 vibe chart helped her transition the old monarchy gently to be more open to multicultural perspectives. But her great reserve kept her from being more open and forthright about it. So when you think about where the monarchy was 70 years ago, when Elizabeth got the throne, she has opened it up. She's loosened it up in a gentle kind of way. Now, we can compare the 17 vibration charts by doing the bi-wheel. Same thing we did with 7 and 13. Remember that Elizabeth has the huge 17 vibration chart. I often put the person with the larger, more powerful configuration in the center, and that is Elizabeth. She's more of a 17 vibe person than Charles is, because Elizabeth, as we see in the inner ring, she has Mercury, Jupiter, Moon, and Venus all within 8 degrees. Wow! Oh my gosh. And a lot of it is opposition Jupiter. This is enormous. Her openness and receptivity to different perspectives and cultures is much greater than we know about. Her reserve is so strong, you really don't know what's going on with her. This is amazing. Charles, it's opposition his Jupiter. She has Mercury, Jupiter, Moon, and Venus. In the outer ring is Charles's Mercury, Uranus, Jupiter right on hers. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. You can't make this up. Every chart we look at has a smooth connectivity between the charts. Believe me, you don't see this. This just compare chart. It doesn't happen. This is not like it happens to them. It just happens to them. They have Jupiter opposition Jupiter and Venus on Venus. Again, 2 planets connected on this flow. What does it mean? I put the Venus without the yellow because it's weaker. It's actually, it's 11 degrees, and Venus is farther away from the Mercury-Uranus. So it's not ultra-powerful connection, but the planets are there. I mean, his Mercury-Uranus is right on, his Mercury-Uranus-Jupiter is right on her moon. And she is the queen, moon, So anyway, what I'm saying is that he ties right into it. What does this mean? It means that Queen Elizabeth is very happy to pass the crown to her son Charles. Very happy. And as time goes on, if there's a consciousness after death, and she's looking down from heaven, so to speak, or whatever, she would be very happy. So I'm not being too literal here. I don't want, I'm just talking about energetically. There's a smooth flow to Charles. It means that Charles honors and respects and recognizes the importance of this receptivity to different cultures and different styles and different stories. And he'll continue these traditions of connecting England with other cultures, that England maintains its own culture, but appreciates, respects, and relates well to other cultures and supports them, rather than trying to make everybody like you. That's the problem we have here in the United States. Sometimes we go into other countries and we try to make them like us. That doesn't work. You need to appreciate and relate to people in their own way, and I think he will continue that nicely. So, concluding comments about Charles III. He will very likely take steps to support the people and be a king for the people. He will be. This is good news. The transition to his reign is going to continue to be smooth. He's likely to be appreciated for being a good father, a grandfather, and a husband. His past failings with his first wife, Diana, are likely to fade in the background. So this is all based on everything that I've said in this video and the first part of this two-part series on Charles. The vibrational astrology analysis does not agree with expectations from many years ago from astrologers who predicted that Charles would likely pass the throne to his children. Well, many, many years ago, I think 10 years ago or more, some astrologers said, that Charles would abdicate the throne. He wouldn't be a good king, and he would probably pass it on to his kids. Well, it's not a fair comparison. They made that forecast way, way ahead of the events that are happening. I'm making it now after we already know that he's king and he's accepted it. So I'm not comparing head on, because it's more difficult to make a forecast 10 years in the future than what's presently in front of you. But nevertheless, I want to just point out that there is that idea floating around that Charles would not be a good king, would not continue well as king. A lot of you may have heard about it, so I wanted to address that idea. I don't know if some astrologers are still presenting that idea, but we have a rosier outlook from vibrational astrology that he will do well as king. Now, you never know if a disaster will happen. We don't know if, there might be an accident, he dies, or some other traumatic thing. We don't know everything. Sometimes people say, well, you're an astrologer. How come you didn't know that? Give me a break. We don't know everything. What we know is what the energetic forces are that are acting at this time. And we know them in incredible detail and many things that are not obvious. So if Charles continues to live and be healthy, and let's hope he does, as we would wish for anyone, then, he will do very, very well. The synastry between Elizabeth and Charles is extraordinary. Things do not happen by chance. And what we're seeing here is what we can call the cosmic tapestry, behind the behavior of people, behind the events in their lives, and we see the likely outcomes. Those connections between Charles and Elizabeth on 7 vibration, 13 vibration, 17 vibration, it's just unbelievable. So it's amazing that we have these tools to see this beautiful, intricate cosmic tapestry. And it's at work very, very nicely, and that gives us a positive outlook for what will happen with the royal family in the United Kingdom. And we also need to use, reading the last paragraph here, we need to use common sense, non-astrological awareness of circumstances. And I emphasize the institution of a monarchy is increasingly tricky in the future. And we hope that Charles and others do not let their 13 vibration vocation increase a sense of exclusivity and separateness from others. And as you know, I'm confident that will not happen. I just hope it happens quickly and that he fully brings out his strong 9 vibration qualities, and he doesn't let his advisors and other people talk him out of it. Okay, so in this series of videos on the British royalty, we're seeing how vibrational astrology is applied to understand the dynamics of people. We're not making any attempt to impress you that these rules work. We're just applying them and see how they work in a situation. We have the book, The Astrology of Bipolar Disorder, that describes the scientific evidence for vibrational astrology and the revolutionary breakthroughs and the development of the nonprofit academic research institute, the Cosmobiology Institute, and also the annual Vibrational Astrology Conference, typically in the first week of March in Gainesville, Florida. And I also mentioned some other websites at the bottom here, astrosoftware.com. For the software that we use in vibrational astrology, astrovibe.org, which is the Association for Vibrational Astrologers, which is in the process of being developed for the vibrational astrology community. Well, that's it, my friends. That's the analysis of King Charles, and overall, very positive outlook for what we see happening there. Thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.